Okay, sorry about that. Dude, he called. Alright. I'm not about to chance blowing this. Wasting more, lives, so to speak. I'm just gonna go back here and press stuff. That's because how do you put it? How did you put it? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That, and one more thing. That locker happens to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. See, it'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently, his fingerprint data was never changed. He must have been using the fingerprint lock without even knowing it. Alright, that updates the fingerprints. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? Yeah, here we go. Good. I almost wasted another life. But thankfully this happened. The picture? This seal of blood. In the desert, it's just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape. So long as my trail isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue your testimony, Mr. Marshall. Officer Marshall. Okay. Too bad it wasn't me in that video, right, partner? Let's press. What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. Objection! But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. Wow, whatever. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, he could leave the room without being caught on tape. Objection! We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, if you could show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now. Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now let's have a look at the video. Show us this incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer Jake Marshall. How many times are we gonna have to watch this? Opens it, looks in. There comes Meekins. Stabs him with his right hand, slams him, charges at him, and then he's gone. Well, that didn't give us anything. Hang on, go back. Shit. See that? Bang. In the beginning, there's nothing hanging out of that locker. But after he's gone... Let's fast forward through this. Not yet. And pans back. And all of a sudden, there's something hanging out of it. Take that! So it was him, that son of a bitch. Bringing your attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video! Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. right there. See this locker that has a white cloth sticking out? This is the witness locker. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. Would you look at that? Oh, the white cloth. It's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then, it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. Order, order. It would seem that's the only... Hold your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was open? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. Kinda has to mean that. Murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Yeah, he did say he's not good with machines, so that's why he just made this dumbass comment. Why is everyone staring at me like that, like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say I open that locker? Now prove it. How about we just present the locker itself? Take that! Fingerprint sensor? We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There's even some people in the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? Oh man, he's chewing on some jerky. I only got one word for you, partner. No! That was shocking. Order! 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 Witness, explain yourself! If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you, this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at this time of the crime. Excuse me. Ole! Please answer the question. What is he now, a bullfighter? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence. There's someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? He had to have been right back here. The camera's going like this, so it would only see about like that. In a V shape. No, not over there. Take that! Oh no! Boy, did I just fuck that all to hell. I was supposed to choose to go with the other one. So Officer Meekins didn't notice him standing there. That's almost as credible as Meekins' warp theory. Your chamber's empty, partner. Better reload. Yeah, that was me being stupid as shit. Perhaps you should think a little more about where Officer Marshall was. Meekins should have seen him in the evidence room. That means that the only place he could have been would be... Well then, let's hear it. Right there. Playing the victim. Officer Marshall was standing right here. There, but that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct. Unless this man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you, dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his ID card. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? Now I'm gonna chew this jerky. You've got quite an imagination, partner. We've got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but don't see me complaining. It's the second time he's said that. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence? Any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. This can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics. For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Nick, try thinking outside the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise. Rather, I should look for evidence that came out because he was in disguise. Why do you think his locker was open in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. Actually, I think I got it. The fact that a white cloth was sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is my only shot. Very well, let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why he had to open his locker. This is actually quite obvious after I thought about it. So we'll fast forward to the confrontation. There's Meekin, the fight, blah blah blah. And... ah shit, I went too far. Wait for it. There! That's why. He had to get rid of it because the damn thing was covered in blood. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room. I don't know what the reason was. Yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, huh, partner? Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent then as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now, would we? Officer Marshall, Tell the court what you did. All of it. Alright. It seems the time has come. This should be good. Marshall's confession. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like it. I planned to take out any evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. Well, that makes sense. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's one thing I still don't understand. Large quantities of blood traces were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It looked like too much blood for that. Okay, time to get pressing. Let what die? When you say it, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years had passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only the detective who was in charge of it can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I... Yeah. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card? I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filling out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint-activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Normally, that locker shouldn't have opened. So it opened because a rubber glove was stuck in the door by chance? Then Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a one-in-a-million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? That's a good question. Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way. With me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So what happened next? And managed to escape. A man knew the areas. Yeah, we knew that. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is, on that day, there wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. Yeah, we know. But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. You stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. So now we have missing evidence. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer, this is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in the salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. I can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? Because his brother was one of the victims. But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Darkey was convicted for those crimes. One thing I can say for sure, he deserved his sentence. I remember the Joe Darkey case. It involved serial murders, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out, but there's something that still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should press him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. I better take another look at the files. Sure, if I present the SL9 files. Yep, there we go. We gotta point out the other name. Officer Marshall. I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned in here. And a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago, he received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? He must be talking about the King of Prosecutors Award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? His older brother? He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, chief detective at the time. He's the other guy down here. Okay. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Jeez, he looks creepy. Joe Darkey. My brother fought Darkey and was killed. That was the first time Darkey left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed. At least, according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Darkey. Really? I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with his resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. But that doesn't help us with Lana. The things that can happen by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than just that. If no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one. Which, in turn, means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye.
Objection!
But wait! A verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial.
Objection!
Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. It seems to me this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All the mysteries at the police department have been uncovered. No contradictions remain. The murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. There were no errors in the testimony of the witness, Angel Starr. Are you serious? That thing was so full of holes. I mean, it took her a while to get her facts straight. If you have a response, make it one word or less. Fine. Arrgh! That's not what I was looking for. I rest my case. It seems that this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time. Disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt that what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was fake. But I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty. Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant. Hold it! Oh, well, Emma's back at least. Your Honor, wait! Emma? The defense is an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor. Oh, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking for is a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. Here we go. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Darkey killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Skye sisters were in that file. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found on the Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator at all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them... Please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone could save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright. With regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other's blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be... Please answer my question, Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If ever I've needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with the handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? Gotta object. This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is your grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on here there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's got to be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans? Oh boy. Camera? It's gotta be that. Dog bark.
I thought you said you had 20 minutes.
I thought it was. It was longer than that.
Clearly, it's over an hour.
Yeah.
It's been an hour and a half. Are you going to play something or not?
Nah, not tonight.
Jesus Christ.
I want to get this done.
You said 20 minutes.
I thought it was.
You thought it. How do you think it was? You're watching a movie, aren't you?
No.
Oh, I thought you were watching a movie of it.
No.
How did you not, like, what? I thought you beat this before, too.
I have. I just thought I just didn't realize it was this long.
Jesus Christ.
See you in the morning. Okay. As they say back west, even a blind man can hit with buckshot. I always preferred the phrase, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn some days. That is, so long as he's facing the general direction. Seems Mr. Wright's not sure which direction to face. It's no use. The more evidence there is, the more wrong choices. Just calm down, Mr. Wright, and try and remember that the evidence room was like on the day of the crime. What is it that bothers me about this blood mark? Please allow me... Okay, so it wasn't the tape. Wait, is that it?
Take that!
No. Wait a minute.
Take that!
What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force. Defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Oh, son of a... Well, what? That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot on the locker. What? So that means, just exactly what does that mean? Means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me, I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically. Emma, on that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. Wow! One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. You can clearly see the badger. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. Okay, that throws a... wow. That's ridiculous. I refute you. The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves it occurred. When did the first incident occur? To surmise, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was disguised as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room. The blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well, then tell us, when did this first incident occur? Proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defense please present this evidence? What shows when the first crime took place? I'm pretty sure it's this. Because there's one person that we don't know that went into the damn room 20 minutes before Edgeworth did. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the perpetrator would have had to enter the room. In order to do so, the NID card is required. An ID card. Oh! The ID card record! Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50 p.m. If the crime took place before that time, then it would have to be 4:40 p.m. Ah! Ah! Mr. Niles Edgeworth, just what have you done? I never figured you had nerve, boy. Put off the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminol test that the blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Let's look at the chart again. There's only one other card number remaining, 777-7777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Officer Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 7777777. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number is 777777777. 7. That's 17 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card. At least, at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 7777777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Someone who is a so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just how... I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There's one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge. You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course, we've looked up her ID number. And it's not 7777777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Here we go. Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Lana. I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why don't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana... Even if it involved forging evidence. See? That's what I'm talking about. No. No! Order! 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 Lana's remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. Oh man. This is getting good. So we know that the crime on scene at the evidence room was fake. That was Marshall dressed up as Goodman trying to get evidence, but the evidence wasn't there, and then Meekins showed up, he had to knock Meekins out and ran, so we know that's fake. But now apparently, Lana, back then, forged evidence to get the guy convicted. So does that mean he wasn't the killer in those crimes after all? I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Darkey killings. Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me. Lana wanted Darkey convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What do you mean, what happened to you? It's all there in the file. No, it's not. Joe Darkey's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Darkey tried to kill me. What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me. So that means you, yes. I was a witness in the Joe Darkey trial. I didn't see that one coming. She was listed in the damn file as a witness, how could you not? It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of the year, too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day, unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office. Joe Darkey. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Darkey tried to take me hostage. Before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. Then, what happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck, and the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then earned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now. Permanent picture. I don't remember the moment when Darky stabbed Mr. Marshall, so you weren't able to testify about that. No, I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why she made up the crime. Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence? The prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Edgeworth? Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumors about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean. It's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened. So it's true. Even though he may not have known it, Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold, like she is today. She must not have been able to face up to what she did, especially not to Emma. What did you see in the instant the crime occurred? Okay, there. That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna try and pause it just to make sure. Darky knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Mia Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently, I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma. You've been through so much. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that incident. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago. You must have been 14. That's understandable. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies and find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way, Lana would never have to forge it. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime. There's something that's puzzling me, Emma. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at that time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased. He was being chased by a prosecutor? Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Darky had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Of course. This happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled into my sister's office. But why did he run all the way over to your sister's office? Because the detective offices and questioning room were right across from the elevator. Across from the elevator? Then why didn't you just go in the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly. Didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. She was the best in the entire force. What? That's news to me. After the Joe Darky case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor. Lana used to be a detective? I better have another talk with her. Alright, off we go to the damn detention center. Hello, Missy. Lana. Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence. I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul, so why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty. Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Emma told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago, and how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details, especially about the unusual change of jobs? I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. This should be good. A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen. I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Emma. At that trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is, at 5:15, there was no murder at the police department. Tell me it's not true, Lana. What the witness, Miss Starr, said. About you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us? Emma. Excuse me, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so fazed before. It's true. I was a member of the police force 2 years ago. She was amazing. They still talk about all the cases she and Chief Gant cracked together. Chief Gant? When he was the vice head of criminal affairs, but he still worked. Then he was the vice head of criminal affairs, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant. He was everything I aspired to be. They were the best team ever. They solved crimes before the reports could even be filed. Emma really idolizes her big sister. But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was to gain experience investigating crime scenes, so you could later use that experience in court. Gant's help in the SL9 case was critical in his resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago. We're getting at that, Nick. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Darky. Hang on, I'm gonna shift myself here. Okay. Second in command? That means the chief detective was, no doubt, Damon Gant? Yes. Detective Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. Shared the same office, huh? They even had the same office. We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall, and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite gung-ho. Without a doubt, Joe Darky was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when the last murder took place. When he tried to murder Emma. Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Darky. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Now you tell us. Detective Gant and Prosecutor Marshall were the ones questioning Darky that day. The investigation was in its final stages when Darky must have panicked. He waited until Gant and Marshall let their guards down, then fled the room. From there, he ran straight to the office shared by Detective Gant and myself. That's where he found me. So you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana? It appears so. I was filing some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Darky. Then when I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood. 3 bodies? Well, yeah, Darky, Marshall, and the other was Emma. She passed out. Prosecutor Marshall, the victim, Emma, who had passed out, and the suspect, Joe Darky. Wait a second, why the hell was Darky on the floor? During the struggle, it seems Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Darky had incurred a minor concussion and lay unconscious. What did you do? To be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma, carried her out of the room, and just held her. Can't blame her. After all, her sister must have gone through. After that, I placed Darky under immediate arrest. Let me get this straight. You were all involved in the SL9 incident? That's right. Quite a coincidence, hmm? I don't buy it. What are you saying? There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in that incident just by chance. But that case was solved 2 years ago. At least one person went to extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved. Officer Marshall. Yes, his action comes as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced with the ruling against Joe Darkey. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet. Emma was assaulted by Darkey at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon Gant and I shared. The office that Mr. Gant now occupies by himself. The chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the chief's office. The site for the final SL9 murder. Well, let's see if we can even get there. Here we are in the Criminal Affairs Department. I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere. Things seem kind of quiet around here today. You're right. The head of the department seems the same, though. Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to? Right. We can come back here later. Okay. Well, the Blue Badger's back. Hey, Marshall. Howdy, Bambina. Oh, Mr. Marshall. I never thought things would turn out this way when I woke up this morning. Que sera, sera. You never know where life will lead you, eh, Bambina? I should have known my luck would run out when old Billy dried up this morning. Billy? Must be his pet cactus. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be coming back. Sorry, but you can't go in the evidence room today, partner. But Mr. Marshall, why did you do it? Why do prospectors head west? If ever there was a case I needed to know the truth about, it was this one. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Looks like I won't be getting a steak lunch today. Something was fishy about that trial from the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean, fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence we found. For example, the murder weapon. Murder weapon? You mean that switchblade knife with a broken tip? That was Joe Darkey's, all right. But in the initial autopsy report, a question was raised. A question? The blade of the knife was not a perfect match with the wound the victim sustained. What does that mean? It means that knife is not what killed him. It means there's a good chance that knife was not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, that possibility had been erased. Could the facts have been concealed with forged evidence? That case left behind scars on all of us. The scars that the SL9 incident left behind. I got the looks, but he got the brains. He was one of the best prosecutors around. I had just made a detective when it went down. It was our first case together. How old was he, your brother? He was 27 at the time. He was awarded the highest honor that very day. The highest honor? You don't mean King of Prosecutors? Not that again. What are you looking at me like that for? That's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have really been close with his brother. The day the SL9 incident took place, that wasn't the same day as... That's right, it was the day of the evidence transferal. Interesting. It was drizzling that morning, and by nightfall there was thunder. I can't believe 2 years have gone by already. I like how his hat just popped back on his head. His arms didn't even move. I tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die. Apparently, someone tried to stop you. Detective Goodman was murdered, and the evidence locker was empty. Yeah, tell us about these scars. There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. Miss Starr was fired, and I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him too, the commissioners would get suspicious. No way, they were too careful. They were careful enough to not be too obvious. They? Who are you talking about? Don't get upset, Bambina. I mean Damon Gant and Lana Sky. Chief Detective Damon Gant and his second-in-command, Lana Skye. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of that duo. That case was the biggest step in both their careers. After the case ended, Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office, right? Yeah, Damon Gant, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. She's never been the same since she left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Skye was totally different when she was a detective. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too. Tell me, what happened to my sister? Sorry, Bambina, but her secret is too well guarded. I never found out. Lana's secret. It all started 2 years ago. She said she sold her soul. So there you have it. That's my story. Did you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There's one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a... He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict, but someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Gant. Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame you. I won't even be a patrolman after today. Too bad I won't be around to work with you when you become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambina. Huh, alright. Let's try to go back in the police station. This place is always pretty empty, but today it's deserted. That must mean everyone's busy solving crimes. Oh, if you're looking for the others, they're all in the conference room. Thanks? Wow, he actually talked to us. With the chief prosecutor saying what she did and the decision about what to do about Mr. Edgeworth, not to mention our statement to the media in tomorrow's trial, there's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. That is pretty crazy. I think festive is the word they're usually used for those. Sir? We'd like to have a look around Chief Grant's office. Just head across the hall to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor. Really? You mean it's okay for us to go in there? I mean, we aren't police officers or anything. Hey, you're right. You can't go in there. It's off limits. Great job, Emma. Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office. This should be good. Wow. It's one hell of an organ. Whoa, where am I? In the chief's office, silly. At least, that's what it said on the door. Check out that pipe organ. That's real, isn't it? Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. They used to call me Little Miss Bach. I thought I was a genius until they tried teaching me notes. I never could remember where C was. Hmm? Oh, he is here. Oh, it's you two. Chief Gant. He put that paper he was reading in his desk. So, Wright boy, have you been swimming lately? What is this guy's obsession with swimming? No, I haven't. I've been kind of busy lately. I can appreciate that. I've had my hands full too with Mr. Marshall's misconduct and Lana's provocative statement. Provocative statement? Oh, you mean about the forged evidence? 2 years have passed since that incident. My, how the time flies. See that big picture on the wall over there? That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me. So this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. We took it to commemorate our work together. Something's not right with this picture. I can't quite seem to put my finger on it. Though. Okay, now we got that. Anyway, I'd like to reminisce all day, but there are matters that need my attention. I'm going to lock up here, so let's go out together. Oh, but this office. It was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it? That case has long since been over. There's no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, we'd still like to have a look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there's no need for investigate it anymore. Now hurry up and get out. I have a meeting to attend. Looks like we aren't welcome. It seems that case isn't over with after all. What do you mean? Chief Gant denied a request to search the crime scene. That means there must be a reason he doesn't want us looking around in there. You mean like a clue? There's got to be a way we can get in the chief's office. Is Gumshoe there? Now who's here? Hey, there he is. Hey, pal. Detective Gumshoe. Where are you in a meeting? I was, just taking a breather. My feet hurt. From sitting so long in the meeting? Actually, I had to serve everyone coffee. Poor Gumshoe. Sounds like Detective Gumshoe's still out of the loop. Say, have either of you seen Edgeworth? Edgeworth? No. Why do you ask? He's under fire from both the police department and the prosecutor's office. It's almost like the battles between you two in court. That sounds serious. Is it because of what my sister said? That's basically what it all boils down to. But that falsified evidence 2 years ago. Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood. Yikes. But why would Edgeworth be blamed? It's not like he knew the evidence was forged. Lana Skye is the guilty party here, isn't she? Regardless, the prosecutor is responsible for the evidence he presents in court. Not only that, but as you know, there have been a lot of rumors going around about Mr. Edgeworth. Those who don't like him haven't been able to do anything because of his amazing talent as a prosecutor. But now with this, are there really so many people who hate him? In our world, only those with talent rise to the top. Mr. Edgeworth had not only had that, but he's young. There's no better recipe I know of for making enemies. Hey, Dick, keep up the good work. Yes, sir. Let's go out for lunch again sometime. My treat. Yes, sir. You gotta take me back to that joint sometime, okay, Dick? Yes, sir. Seems you don't have any problem with enemies. Yeah, well, I'm careful not to stick out. Anyway, I'm a bit worried about him. Under all this pressure, I'm afraid Mr. Edgeworth might crack. Actually, I took a look at the file earlier while the coffee was brewing. He seems generally concerned for Edgeworth. Well, did you find anything? The only evidence Darking left behind was during his final attack. His final attack? You mean when he killed Prosecutor Marshall, who was still trying to protect some girl? Me. It seems Detective Gumshoe never realized Emma was the girl. That's when he left the most incriminating evidence of all. Well, what was it? Oh, let's see. I think it's something to do with the murder weapon. Oh, I forget. Look, it's written in here somewhere, okay? His powers of recollection never fail to impress. Maybe we should show him the murder weapon. It might jog his memory. After this. Joe Dirk, he was 42 at the time of the crime. He was just your run-of-the-mill businessman. What made him take to serial killing? One day, on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car. With his car? So, it was an accident? An accident, yes. But it transformed him into an animal. An animal? He killed the man that witnessed the incident. Then he killed the lady who saw the second crime. A kid walked by just then, so he killed him too. Then he went burying all the bodies. A jogger came across the scene and was killed as well. Finally, he turned himself in. According to him, it seems he was a pretty careless criminal. Of course, this is all conjecture. There wasn't a single shred of evidence, so he turned himself in. Yes, but in the middle of the night, middle of questioning, he fled and his final victim, Prosecutor Marshall. That crime was witnessed by someone. Too, and unfortunately, he was arrested. Unfortunately, he was arrested on the spot. It's a good thing that last witness wasn't killed. That last witness, he must be an Emma. So, as she said, we'll present this. About this. Hey, don't tell me it has a tag attached to it with the label SL9 incident on it. I believe this would be the broken murder weapon you were speaking of. What are you doing with that? Ever since this case was closed, the knife's been locked away in a locker. On the day Detective Goodwin was murdered, this suddenly appeared from under the locker. Yeah. And was found in Mr. Edgeworth's car muffler. That's it! Now I remember what that incriminating piece of evidence was. When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me. Well, what is it, Detective? Quick, before you forget again. This knife. It was Joe Darcy's, wasn't it? That's right. We traced it back to the store he bought it at, and it had his fingerprints on it too. I was like, yeah, talk. But no one actually witnessed him using it to murder anyone, right? That's where his luck ran out. When you take a good look at this knife, you see it's broken. You don't have to take a good look to notice that. Yeah, well, enjoy. Anyway, take a guess where the broken off tip of the knife was found. That's what did him in. Or was it? The victim, Neil Marshall, was carrying it inside his own body. It was found deep inside his stab wound. Didn't it match Darky's knife? You bet. Down to the last fiber. That's pretty conclusive. Oh, shoot. And we got Switchblade updated. Well, there you have it in a nutshell. That's all I know. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? If it's money you need, ask the chief. You should ask Chief Gant. It's not money, but it does concern a chief. But he does crime scenes, right? It's where Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered. The chief's out now and his office is locked. But we just like to have him just look around if that's okay. Well, any ID detective's ID can unlock the door. What? Really? But if I let a civilian in there, I'll be charged with breach of trouble. Breach of trouble? Or trust. Trust. What trouble? Where the fuck did I get that? Simply put, I'd be canned. Oh, sorry, pal. I don't plan on getting fired because of you. How about this ID card? It was Detective Gumshoe. That won't work either. The data was deleted the day the day he died. Oh. So in other words, Gumshoe was our only chance of getting out of that office. Wonder if there's something we can show him to make him change his mind. Alright, so, when we last left off, we had just finished jogging Gumshoe's memory about the murder weapon, and then he told us that any ID card would get you into Gant's office. So, guess where we're going? Or not. What's going on here? No. The underground parking lot? Well, this is different. No one's here today. Not even Miss Starr. Everyone's probably busy looking into what exactly went down in the evidence room. That must be where the detectives are. But we proved in court today that no one was murdered in the evidence room at 5:15 p.m. on the day of the crime. Yeah, I thought we were finally making some headway in our case. But instead, it looks like we just ended up making Lana look even more guilty. Hang in there, Lana. I've got to find all the answers by tomorrow. I wonder if Edgeworth is back yet. There he is. He looks like he's writing something. Huh? What are you doing here? He sure was quick to throw that paper on the floor. Tough day in court, huh? Humph. I've had to live the past 2 years with rumors flying around. What's another allegation in me? Cheer up, Mr. Edgeworth. I'm rooting for you. That's Edgeworth for you. Always trying to hide his real feelings. So, what do you want? Unlike some people, I don't have all day. Well, let's see what he has to say. There's no excuse for what I've done. 2 years ago, I used false evidence to obtain a guilty verdict. That's what it all breaks down to, and nothing I do can erase that fact. But you didn't know, did you? I mean, that evidence was falsified. The police department and the prosecutor's office share a bond of trust. If that bond is broken, we stand to lose everything. The police department's error is my error, and my responsibility as the prosecutor in charge. That fact remains the same no matter what excuses I might have. Mr. Edgeworth, I take pride in my work. So tell me why. Why does it all come to this? Even Edgeworth can't keep this kind of emotion bottled up. Are you up for the trial tomorrow? First last year's trial, and now this one. It seems all you do is worry about me. To be honest, you're getting on my nerves. But Mr. Edgeworth, you can't just walk out on the trial. Tomorrow is the last day. It's too late to change prosecutors. I'll bet that's why they're my superiors. I bet that's what my Okay, here, let's try this again. I'll bet that's what my superiors are banking on. I never thought that case would come back to haunt me like this. What do you mean? That list of evidence, it seems too short. Most lists run twice as long. It's only half as long as most lists? That is odd. After Neil Marshall was murdered, I became prosecutor for that case. I may not have been part of the investigation, but at the time, there was only one thing on my mind. I'd use the evidence I was given to prove the suspect guilty. Say, we just saw a picture taken around that time. That picture. Something seems strange about it. So we're going to show that picture in just a sec, but we'll see what else he says. Could you tell us again about what happened that day? The day Detective Goodman was murdered? You were participating in a ceremony over at the station, right? I've never cared for ceremonies, but I had to attend that one. Because you were being awarded this? Those receiving awards can't exactly skip out on the ceremony. I finished up at the office in the morning, then drove over to the police department. You finished up at the office? Yes, just odds and ends, clerical stuff. I didn't plan on returning to the office that day. That is, until I was asked to take something back. Take something back? Yeah, that screwdriver. This. Oh yeah, Chief Gant asked you to hold on to that, didn't he? Yes, it was a piece of evidence in a case that was closed half a year ago. He asked me to bring it back to the prosecutor's office. That's the story we heard yesterday. So you came back here to the prosecutor's office because the chief asked you to? That's right. Alright. Now we're going to show him that picture. This picture was hanging on the wall in Chief Gant's office. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He had just started making a name for himself. Looks like this was taken when he received the King of Prosecutors trophy. Not to mention, look at that. Doesn't that look familiar? Speaking of that, there's something that bothers me. Yes? The trophy Mr. Marshall is holding. It's a little different than yours. Yes, you're right. I remember now. Remember what? That was the official prosecutor trophy used until that time. There's a story behind it. A story? Sounds interesting. Would you mind telling it to us? It's simple, really. Contradiction. That's what the award's based on. This award originates from an ancient Chinese tale. In Chinese, the word contradiction is written with two characters. The first means halberd, the second means shield. Have you heard this story? Me? Oh, sure. Everyone knows that. Why don't you tell it, though? For Emma's sake. Nice try, Nick. Very well. Long ago, in the kingdom of Chu, there was an arms merchant. One day, he presented the king with two items. The first was a halberd he claimed would slice through any shield or armor. The second was a shield he claimed could withstand any weapon. Wait a minute.
Objection!
There you go. Those claims contradict each other. Very perceptive. But then again, you've heard this story before, right? Anyway, as you mentioned, the very descriptions of these items discredit them both. When the king pointed this out, the merchant was left speechless. And thus, the Chinese word for contradiction was born. Oh, I see. So the chipped shield and broken knife symbolize... Precisely so. They symbolize the merchant's items. The ancient tale ends with the merchant at a loss for words, but it's in our nature to pursue matters to their conclusion, even if it results in something as ugly as this. Wow. Thanks, Mr. Edgeworth. I learned something new today. That's funny. If that's so, then why were you only given a shield? You'll have to ask Chief Gant. 2 years ago, he had the halberd part of the award abolished. Chief Gant. And that gives us an update on the trophy. Now, I don't know if I can pick this up yet, but I'm gonna try. I wonder what he was writing on before. Come on, Mr. Wright. Let's take a look. Are you crazy? Edgeworth is sitting right there. Just distract him. I'll check it out. Hey, Edgeworth. Is that Detective Gumshoe out the window there? Oh no, he's falling to the ground! Hold on. First let me see what the girl's doing crawling around my feet. He didn't even look. What? Letter of... If you can't read, I'll read it for you. It says, Letter of Resignation. Resignation? Edgeworth, you don't mean... Yeah, it seems like he's resigning. I'm tired, Mr. Wright. I feel as if something inside me has died. But Mr. Edgeworth, none of it is your fault. I know the path I've walked. You don't need to tell me. And the path I've walked hasn't been a just one. I can't forgive myself for what I've done. And no one else should forgive me either. Uh-oh. I think he's serious. Mr. Wright, please, you have to do something. This letter of resignation. I wonder if I could use it for anything. And that gives us that. Now, I think that's all we can talk to Edgeworth about. Yeah. Unless we have to... Well, hold on, let's try that. They say where there's smoke, there's fire. Apparently, I was so caught up in the smoke, I lost sight of the truth. Edgeworth, the others are right. I have no right to serve as a prosecutor. But Mr. Edgeworth, you are only doing your job. I've always made my own decisions about what I can or cannot do. That hasn't changed. Forgiving myself is something I cannot do. Uh-oh. I think he's serious. Mr. Wright, please, you have to do something. Yeah, and that gives us that. Stabbed in the back, died from punctured heart and lung. Knife tip was in the wound. Name of deceased, Neil Marshall, 27, male. Date and time of death, February 19, between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Cause of death, single stab wound piercing heart and lung. Assessment, died from blood loss under 10 minutes. Weapon found in wound was missing tip. Alright. Well, I don't think there's anything else we can do with Edgeworth now. So let's move on. Who's in the parking lot? Excuse me. Oh, it's her. Would either of you care for a quarter pound of roast beef? Miss Starr! I guess she's out of lunches. You certainly are the curious sort, aren't you? Kind of like the first person who sucked a... What?! Kind of like the first person who sucked a cow's nipple to discover milk. Still, I never thought you'd go digging up that case from 2 years ago. Everyone in this trial was involved with the SL9 incident. Not only that, but the murder occurred on the very day the evidence from that case was due for transferal. This can't all be attributed to mere coincidence. Excuse me. Aren't you forgetting something? You know, that little scene I happened to witness? The instant Lana stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. No matter how much of the past you dig up, it won't change what I saw. Roast beef is meant to be savored when eaten. Miss Starr's hatred toward Lana. It all dates back to 2 years ago. So now we'll get more information out of her. Joe Darkey. That's a name I'll not soon forget. We trailed them for half a year. Oh, the pressure. Still, I don't think I was ever more alive than then. Those days were steamier than a bowl of hot gravy. Poor old Jake Marshall, though. Must have been going through hell. You mean, because of his brother's death? They were close, those two. After Neil died, something took over Jake. He became obsessed. Seeing Jake like that made her all the more desperate. Her? Lana Skye. My sister? The best of the best were put on that SL9 case. Of course they were led by that legendary duo. Lana and Chief Gant. That legendary pair was the reason we were able to keep up our investigation. That's why we were so shocked over how it turned out. You mean, with the forging of the evidence? Don't get me wrong, Joe Darkey got what he deserved. Still, it was obvious the evidence produced in court was being manipulated. Items our team never found would suddenly appear, while other items were kept secret. But you didn't have proof anything illegal was done. I'm proof enough of what happened. After that case, all of us, save Goodman, were relieved of our duties, most without even so much as an explanation. Then Lana Skye transferred to the prosecutor's office and became chief prosecutor. Lana always wanted to be a prosecutor. Nothing's quite as simple as it appears. Huh? Lana Skye was merely being used as a pawn. You don't say. That's my take on the matter. She was being used? Damon Gant and Lana Skye. 2 years ago, Gant was chief detective and Lana was second in command. They were the best. That's an awesome picture no matter how you look at it. They solved all kinds of cases together, didn't they? Damon Gant's magnetism in particular was almost unreal. His magnetism? Let me guess, how he would somehow find evidence all over the place? By that I mean his ability to attract evidence. Yep. He'd produced the most incredible evidence in the cases he handled. Incredible evidence. You mean, yeah, he sounds like he was fixing things. Oh yes, there were rumors about him even back then. No one dared confront him, though. I take it she's talking about forged evidence. Back then, everyone looked up to Lana. All detectives wanted to be like her. Really? Oh yes, myself included. I was a fool, really. She hated everything anything crooked, and always watched out for the other detectives. That's why she was so concerned for Jake. Mr. Marshall. When Jake's brother was murdered, she felt as if she had lost her own brother. If it wasn't for her, I don't think Jake would ever have recovered from his shock. That's what makes it all the more infuriating. Miss Starr. That's why I'll never be able to forgive her. Why does she have to turn so cold after that? That's the magic question. Or the question of the day, what do you want to call it? Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office 2 years ago, didn't she? Yes, thanks to Chief Gant's powerful influence. Chief. That's right. Having solved the SL9 case, his position as chief was secured. There was only one thing left for him to control, and then no one could stand in his way. The prosecutor's office. What? You mean, that's why Lana was transferred? If he could control the chief prosecutor, he could control the prosecutor's office. That must have been his goal all along. But how could he control Lana? I don't know, but one thing's for sure. Ever since that case ended, she's never been the same. It's only logical to conclude there must have been a reason for her change. At last. I'm finally getting close to the bottom of this ugly mess. Sorry, had to close a window, and I was looking at Pokemon stuff before this. Anyway, thank you, Miss Starr. You listen to me, rookie. It takes more than just ingredients to create fine cuisine. I hope you turn out to be a better chef than I've been. I like Angel. She's nice. Among other things. Alright. Now hopefully we can get up to Gant's office now. Yeah, Gumshoe's gone. Oh, never mind. Oh, you're back. You're still here? I gotta make 150 copies of these files. Wow. Brewing coffee, copying files. I'm turning into a regular DJ. What? You're a DJ as well? If I'm not mistaken, I think he means desk jockey. Okay, that makes more sense. Oh, that DJ. I gotta admire your persistency, but my answer's still no. Huh? I'm not letting you in the chief's office, period. Oh, that's why we can't get there. It'd be my neck on the line. That office is the last crime scene in the SL9 incident. I have to take a look in there. There's gotta be something we can do to make the detective change his mind. Well, let's talk to him first. Never mind. Oh! Okay, we gotta show him this. What's that what's this crumpled up piece of paper? No way! Mr. Edgeworth can't be serious! Is he ever not serious? I can't believe they've pushed him this far. Mr. Edgeworth really feels responsible. At first I thought he was as cold as ice, but now I know different. He trusted us detectives to provide him with sound evidence, but we betrayed him. Detective. That's it. I've made up my mind. But here, take my ID card. We can't do that. If someone found out, they wouldn't let you off the hook with another lost item report. Look at me. It's no secret I'm already out of the loop. After all, I'm friends with Mr. Edgeworth. Depending on how this case turns out, I may already be as good as terminated. What? So at least let me do this, for Mr. Edgeworth's sake. Alright, Detective. Thank you. Good old Gumshoe. Alright. Here we go. Finally in the chief's office. Here goes, Mr. Wright. Click. Alright, we're in. Pretty intimidating. I still like the music, even if the guy's a dick. Open sesame. If anyone finds us now, Detective Gumshoe's a goner. If that happens, I'm counting on you to bail me out. Yeah! Ah! Apparently he followed us and got slapped again. Sorry, I thought you were a ghost. Really? I didn't even know you could slap a ghost. Ah! Detective Gumshoe! What are you doing sneaking up on us like that? I wasn't sneaking. I was just worried something might go wrong. So I came too. If you're here, then what's the point of giving us your ID card? Crumpled Gumshoe's ID card in pocket. Hey, don't do that to my card! I hardly ever get a chance to come in here, so I figured I'd have a look around myself. Besides, we're all in this together now. You really do want to get fired, don't you? Not if we're lucky. Now come on, let's see what we can find out. I've got a bad feeling about this. Alrighty. I don't think there's anything else Gumshoes will tell us. So... well, just for the hell of it. No? Okay. That desk on the other side of the room, was that your sister's? Yes, that's where I was waiting for Lana. On that day 2 years ago. Is anyone using it now? No, sir. This is entirely Chief Gant's office now. He practices a strict policy of preserving the crime scene. That's a strange reason to leave it here. Leave it there. He leaves it as a warning to everyone else. He wants us to always be alert. He told us so himself at our New Year's party. Of course, he was pretty intoxicated at the time. You see. So ever since Lana left, no one ever touches that desk? No one except Chief Gant. And the cleaning lady who's in here each morning. Still, 2 years have passed since that incident. There can't possibly be any clues remaining. Yeah, you never know. Can I ask you something? Sure. You only came here to look around, right? Because it's one of the SL9 crime scenes? I mean, that's your only reason for coming here, isn't it? Why do you ask? You don't think... Nah, you wouldn't be... No. No, there's no way. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Okay, now then, let's go around a bit more. Hey, hold on! Not so fast, buddy. Huh? What is it? When someone else tells you don't worry about it, it's supposed to start bothering you, pal. You don't just let it go at that. Yeah. This guy's starting to get on my nerves. Okay, what's bothering you?